Perfect. Perfect.
We'll be in Minnesota and Wisconsin.
We'll get some cheese.
Wisconsin cheese.
Maybe they have the wall of cheese there.
We'll make sure we see it. Lori lives up there somewhere.
Does she?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, bless her heart. Okay, we'll give everybody a few minutes to get on. We're going to be in Judges chapter 12 this evening. Judges 12. I want to get on the ready group and send a message out right quick.
Yes, sir.
We're going to talk about Jephthah a little more this evening, and then about 3 real quick, brief mentions of Judges that you might find interesting.
Well, I'm trying to find the ready group. Is it a Facebook message?
Yeah.
There it is.
Yep. And for those that miss it, it'll be on YouTube also. It's a short chapter tonight, and hope that we can get a lot out of it. Sometimes the short chapters have a lot in them.
Yes, they do.
Okay, we'll open in prayer. Father God, we come before you again, thanking you for the Word of God and thanking you, Father, for the people that have preserved it down through the centuries. I ask, Father, your blessing on our study, and I ask, Lord, that you would just let the Spirit of God be here in the midst of us, Lord, and that we would understand the Word and grow in it, and Father, that it would be spiritual food for us tonight. In Jesus' name I pray. Amen.
Amen.
Okay, we're going to get started. Don't really see anybody join just yet.
I'm wondering if the internet is acting weird today.
I don't know, but you're on, so, and you're seeing our broadcast. So anyway, we will get started with Judges chapter 12, and those that miss it can catch up. So Judges 12, Angie, if you'd read verse 1.
And the men of Ephraim gathered themselves together and went northward and said unto Jephthah, Wherefore passest thou over to fight against the children of Ammon, and didst not call us to go with thee? We will burn thine house upon thee with fire. Hey, sissy.
Hey, sissy. So this stopped me when I read that one verse. Because if you remember back in chapter 11, he's had a great victory. Jephthah was a son of a prostitute, son of a harlot, it says. He was basically run off by his half-brothers, and then they went and got him because they were in trouble, and he made this arrangement with them if he was victorious that he would be the head, the judge of Israel, and they said yes. And he went in, he asked God for his blessing, and he made that vow. That was what we looked at last week, was the vow. And Jephthah made a rash vow, and that he said he would sacrifice to God the first thing that came out of his house when he got home, and his daughter was the first thing that came out.
Right.
So we had a lot of discussion about that last week. So Jephthah was an outcast that Israel had to call on. He was not an outcast by any fault of his own, right? So it was not his fault how he was born into this world. If he was an orphan or illegitimate or anything like that, a child can't help that.
Right.
But his brothers didn't want him to have any kind of inheritance, so they ran him off. And he went off, and Israel had called for him to drive out the Ammonites, I believe, and Moabites. And so he went in and did that. So that's where we are in the beginning of chapter 12. And then we read verse 1 that the people of the tribe of Ephraim gathered themselves together and went northward and said unto Jephthah, Wherefore passest thou over and fight against the children of Ammon, and didst not call us? We will burn thine house upon thee with fire. Does that sound familiar to you? Because in another chapter of Judges, we found the same thing. You remember it?
I do, but I don't remember who said it.
Okay, let's go back to chapter 8, verse 1, and we're going to see the same statements.
Carol and John are present and accounted for. Yes, sir.
Hey, Carol. Hey, John.
Hey, Wanda.
We're in Judges 12.
Now, where did you want to go back to?
Judges 8, verse 1. You read that one.
I will. And the men of Ephraim said unto him, Why hast thou served us thus, that thou callest us not when thou wentest to fight against the Midianites? And they did chide him sharply. Wow, these guys are just easily offended, aren't they?
That's what we need to look at tonight.
Yeah,
we've got time to dwell on these things. So the tribe of Ephraim were easily offended. They wanted to have it both ways. Basically, they wanted to run people off when they didn't like them, and then when the people were basically used by God, then they wanted to find fault with them.
Right.
And I think that we can see that in people today, that if you're easily offended, it's not godly to be that way.
That's right. Now, is this the group that was on the other side of the Jordan River?
That's a good point, and that's why I printed out these maps, and now they're going to be backwards to you because I don't have it set up to do the behind the camera. But this is a map. This is the Mediterranean, and here's you one, Angie, so you don't have to turn around. But this is the Mediterranean, and this is the Jordan River that runs right down through there. And if you'll remember, these three tribes, the half tribe of Manasseh and Gad and Reuben, all had land on the east side of Jordan. And if you've been following us for the last 2 years, didn't we study Joshua last year? Mm-hmm. If you've been following us, then you remember that when Joshua got the tribes into the promised land before they crossed over Jordan into Jericho, the first town that they battled, these three tribes were cattlemen. Mm-hmm. The pasture land on the other side of Jordan was very lush, and they went and said, we want this to be our land. Mm-hmm. And there was anger among all the people, and they had actually made that agreement with Moses, I believe, back in Exodus. We read that, and that Exodus, he was angry with them because he felt like they didn't want to go into the promised land. They wanted to just take pretty good land here. And so in doing so, they had to explain, we will fight with you in the promised land, and when we get done with the battles, we'll come back and possess the land here. Right. So it was not part of the land that God had given to Israel, and it is in modern day Jordan, the country of Jordan. So what kind of animosity must have been with still hanging on generations later for this to happen? And if you notice, we're going to get down in a minute, it's going to mean something that the Jordan River divides them. You and I discussed this back when you was homeschooling the girls, and we discussed this, how geographic features like mountain ranges and rivers separated countries a lot of times. And I know in the United States there are a lot of states that are bordered by rivers. And
in Greece, city-states formed because of mountain ranges.
Okay.
So it was in ancient Greece, it was not a unified nation. There was lots of little city-states because they were divided by mountains.
Okay.
Yeah.
I know in probably in several other countries, but in Italy there are several tiny little nations that are smallest counties, because on my ham radio, I worked a country one day. I may have it wrong. I think it was like Medora or something like that. But I worked this country.
Montenegro, maybe?
No, it might not even started with an M, but it was a country that I worked, and I was not familiar with it. And when I looked it up, it was actually in northern Italy, right in the center, and it was a county-sized nation, and it had always been a nation. But anyway, getting back to this, we have.
Hey, Kathy. Hey, Lenny. Hey, Cece and Carol.
And we have a picture here of Israel divided by the Jordan, and it's a problem.
Right.
And if you think about the time period that we're looking at, they had to, when they crossed over Jordan, they had to wait till God parted the Jordan River, and they walked over. And in seeing that, there were probably no bridges at this time. They probably could only cross back and forth when the dry times of the year. So we're seeing a division. And so let's take that down that rabbit trail. If you think about people that are divided from us, they're not daily with us. We have a separation from them. They lose a sense of being part of that group, and they can even get resentment because we're over here, and what are they saying about us over there?
Well, I can see it on both sides. I mean, the Ephraimites are thinking, well, we're left out. They don't want to include us. They're not calling on us because we're over here. They're over there. But then you think about the rest of Israel on the Promised Land side.
Yeah.
They're, that little psychology of, well, y'all didn't want to come over here to start with, so you just stay over there. You just do your thing, and we'll do our thing.
And like I said, this is a Hatfield and McCoy kind of generations later kind of thing. That there must have always been, for these 2.5 tribes, because Manasseh was a half tribe. Half of it was on the other side of Jordan. Manasseh, if you look at that map, is this large yellow, of all the way across Israel. This is the
Ephraim and Manasseh were brothers, sons of Joseph.
Yeah.
Right.
Manasseh and yes. Yeah. And so we're looking at Gilead. The word Gilead's going to come up, and this is.
My math is very blurry.
I'm sorry. I just in a rush printed this out, but Gilead is right in the center of Gad. That's where Gilead is, and sometimes there's cities with the name Gilead up here. So, like I said, this is reverse image on your review. But anyway, that's in thinking about that. Bring it up to your life, your modern day times, and think about what happens when we get separated from people, when there's divisions in churches, when there's rivals that spring up, when there are feuds that happen that last generations. Sometimes it's hard to get out of people, and it's a culture thing that they don't even know why they are feuding.
Right.
They don't even know why. It's just that, that old thing on the Andy Griffith show where the two men are feuding, and they don't remember why they're feuding because, he's a Hatfield, he's a McCoy, basically. They don't understand that. And there's a lot of people that have animosity toward Christians, and they don't know why, but it's maybe somewhere back generations. I mean, there's a lot of things like that are in us that we need to study and find out if that's in us. And
well, we talked a little bit about denominations. Was it last week? We were talking about denominations, and that's what happens with denominations. Well, we got the truth.
Yeah.
No, we got the truth.
That's right.
And there's fighting amongst brethren, and that's really bad.
Yeah, especially the witness that it gives to the world around them.
That's why the world doesn't respect the church.
That's right. There's no unity among groups. And You know, I mean, look at Ireland. The whole nation was divided because Catholics and Protestants, an entire nation, and that goes way back, and it was violent kind of division.
And still is.
And still is. And we need to really, as the church, we need to have unity. And
that's right.
Anyway, so we just done verse 1, and we're already 15 minutes into the Bible study, but the men of Ephraim got mad and said they was going to burn their house down with fire because you didn't call us to fight the Ammonites. Verses 2 and 3.
And Jephthah said unto them, I and my people were at great strife with the children of Ammon, and when I called you, ye delivered me not out of their hands. And when I saw that ye delivered me not, I put my life in my hands and passed over against the children of Ammon. And the Lord delivered them into my hand. Wherefore then are you come up unto me this day to fight against me?
Jephthah had a way of understanding reality, and he didn't let anybody buffalo him.
That's right.
He, like the chapter before we read where the Ammonites said, you took our land. You came in here and stole all this land from us. And he said, no, no, no. And he explained to them what happened and went back in history. So he obviously was a man that knew the facts, and he knew that he was in the right. And so here he said, I called on you and you didn't help. So they wanted to have some type of argument with him of, you didn't even call us. Yes, I did. And you didn't help. So he took care of it himself.
And then God gave him the victory.
That's
he
right.
didn't need their help.
I put my life in my hands. I like that statement. Verse 4.
Then Jephthah gathered together all the men of Gilead and fought with Ephraim. And the men of Gilead smote Ephraim, because they said, Ye Gileadites are fugitives of Ephraim among the Ephraimites and among the Manassites. And the Gileadites.
Okay, right there. So,
wow.
We don't think about this. We don't think about tribes of Israel fighting with tribes of Israel, but right here you have it. And it was an infighting, just like you have infighting in churches or infighting in families, whatever. And in this, somebody has to prevail. Something has to come out of this. Somebody's wrong in this. When you have a civil war, quote unquote, if it's a civil war, somebody's wrong, and eventually the end will come out. And in this verse, the half tribe of Manasseh and Gad and Reuben fought with Ephraim. So we've got all these three tribes on the east side of Jordan fighting with one tribe, Ephraim, on the and if you look at again this map, these three tribes fighting this one beige tribe right here. Let's see the
Where is Gilead? Because I'm not seeing it.
Well, this says something Gilead right there.
Let me see if I have one of those maps in my Bible.
Yeah.
So I can see where they are. Okay, here it is. Yeah, I don't see Gilead on there anywhere except for that one town. East Manasseh, which is on the east side of the Sea of Galilee. Down at the bottom, there are two towns, Ramoth Gilead and Jabesh Gilead. So I don't know. Because Ephraim is on the other side of the Jordan. I don't know.
Okay, right here in the red.
Yeah.
If you just do a search on Gilead, you'll find some science fiction movie that was named Gilead in the future, and just skip over that. Don't worry about it. Well, I looked it up today. I was a little surprised at the maps I was seeing, and then I realized it was some sci-fi movie that they used the term Gilead in.
That is so odd, though, that they
Yeah.
didn't have their own spot
Well, Gilead was not a tribe, right? It was a family
in a tribe.
in a tribe, and there was a city named Gilead. And
Kathy said that old story about the handed down recipe, which started cut off the end of the ham. 3 generations passed it down.
yep.
Until one granddaughter decided to try it and asked her mom, why cut off the end of the ham? And the mother said, let me call grandma. Her mother said the same. When the matriarch answered her daughter's question, her reply was, well, because it never fit in my roasting pan.
Yeah.
I like that story.
Yeah.
We do things without questioning.
And it may not be relevant to us
Right.
generations down. That's right. So I'm just sometimes blown away that people can't get along, that they just have to fight with each other. It's just meaningless. And I'm willing to leave people alone if they don't like to hear my opinions or even my voice or whatever. I'm willing to leave them alone and just live at peace. But sometimes people don't want to live in peace, and like the New Testament says, if it with everything in you live peaceably among your brothers.
Yeah.
Okay. Verse 5 and 6.
And the Gileadites took the passages of Jordan before the Ephraimites, and it was so that when those Ephraimites which were escaped said, let me go over, that the men of Gilead said unto him, art thou an Ephraimite? And if he said, nay, then said they unto him, say now, Shibboleth. And he said, Shibboleth, for he could not frame to pronounce it right. Oh, say now, Shibboleth. And he said, Sibboleth, for he could not frame to pronounce it right. Then they took him and slew him at the passages of Jordan, and there fell at that time of the Ephraimites 40 and 2,000.
Yeah, this is very
That's hilarious. So they had like an accent.
Yeah.
And they couldn't trill their R's in Spanish.
That's right.
So we're going to shoot you.
Well, that's what happened because
Wow.
they were not locals. They had
They
an accent.
the word. Oh my goodness.
This is something.
Hey,
This is
Courtney.
one of the more interesting things in the Bible.
Oh, that's hilarious.
So, and if you look in verse 5, the passages of Jordan. So there obviously were low water places,
Right.
shoals, some places where they could cross over, stone paths that sometimes people put in. There were some places that were natural crossings, or people had made these crossings, and so they just had to guard those crossings. And when they had people that would get stuck over here, and they'd be trying to get home, and they were at war with these people, and they would try to get over, they would stop them and have them say, Shibboleth. Say Shibboleth.
Shibboleth. It really is, though. I mean,
when you think about accents, when you think about the accents we have, I know many years ago, I could tell when people were from Georgia, they had a different accent than people from Alabama, and that's not very far away.
Mm-hmm.
So if you think about, people in New England having an accent that people in California don't have, and all that, people, and even in this time, we don't think about it, but people had accents. And if you think about in the New Testament, in the book of Acts, you had all of Israel came together for Pentecost, and everybody had a different dialect, right? And that's what the baptism of the Holy Spirit was about, was every man heard in his own tongue, right?
Right, that's what the gift of tongues was
and
for,
so God separated man in the Old Testament with the Tower of Babel, and the dialects went out. In the New Testament, everybody's brought together by the Holy Spirit.
Right.
Right? And so I just found this very fascinating.
It is. Kathy said east of the Jordan River in modern day Jordan. Yes. Lenny said sometimes it only takes one loud, opinionated person to turn half the people against each other. Yes. Hey, Courtney. Yep. One loud mouth wrecking the whole thing. Dathan. You remember on the 10 Commandments, Dathan?
Yeah.
He was a bad guy.
Yeah.
And he just messed everything up.
Yep. Yes. So,
That's fun.
a very interesting.
Say it. Shibboleth. Come on. Say it.
Well, I mean, I've heard, and John's on here, and I know he could probably tell us stories because I know he's from Poland, but I know that.
Well, he's Polish descent.
Right.
Yes.
But he's a World War II history buff.
Yes.
And he and I have had some conversations, and he and I, well, I don't know if we talked about this, but I know that, in World War II, there were people that would be spies on different sides. And I read somewhere that one of the things that the Germans did that they would catch an American at would be when you're cutting meat in the United States, you would hold your fork with your left hand, cut it with your right, lay down your knife, pick up your fork with your right hand, and eat it with your right hand. And I never even thought about it. That's the way I just did.
Yeah.
But they said that the Germans held their fork and they put it in their mouth with their fork on their left hand. They didn't swap up. And that they would observe that. It was culturally, we think that's weird, but really culturally, not only the things we say, but the things we do.
Yeah.
And I think that's fascinating. But we have a huge country where people are separated, and then here's a small country. I think we've decided it was a few counties worth in Israel.
Yeah.
And yet there was different dialects.
That's right.
Good stuff to know.
Interesting.
7.
And Jephthah judged Israel 6 years. Then died Jephthah the Gileadite and was buried in one of the cities of Gilead. Okay,
so again, Gilead's not a tribe; it's an area, and it's a named after someone named Gilead, and he's a Gileadite because that was one of his grandfathers, great grandfathers. And I maybe skipped over in verse 6. There was 42,000 people were killed because they couldn't say Shibboleth. I'm sorry, folks, but that's sad, but very weird, don't you think?
I think that is extremely funny. I really do. I mean, I know it wasn't funny to them, but it's like having somebody come down here and us saying, okay, prove you're a Southerner, eat a bowl of grits.
Yeah.
And like it.
Yeah, we had some friends, internet friends from New York, came down one time. They were from Bronx, I think, had a heavy Bronx accent. They had been driving the day that they showed up at our house. They had been driving like a 12-hour day. They showed up kind of late in the evening. Angie had food for them. We're sitting there, talking to them, and Angie leans over and says, "So you just slapped more out." And the man had this panicked look on his face like a deer in the headlights. And he looked at his wife, and I saw that he was panicked, and Angie didn't understand what was going on. And I put my hand on her shoulder and said, "It's okay. She wants to know if you're tired." And she started laughing, and she said, "What did I say?" I said, "You asked him if he would slap more out."
Oh, Lord.
And then we began to talk about the differences. He began to say stuff, and we said stuff, and it was just fun. But all right. So Jephthah judged Israel 6 years. Not a long time.
Kathy said, we love grits. See, you're Southern at
There you
heart,
go.
Kathy. And Carol said, got some sausage to put in those grits. Yeah. Just no sugar. You don't put sugar in grits, people.
Butter is good, and
yes.
cheese is acceptable if you're
yes.
in a cheese mode.
Yes.
Okay. 6 years. So that's the end of Jephthah's story. And he's the one we remember that made the rash vow about his daughter, or that turned out to be his daughter. So that's what we can remember about Jephthah, and the fact that this interesting dialect came up.
But I'm surprised he only judged for 6 years.
Well, we're going to get to about 3 here in a row and before we get to the end of the chapter. So verses 8 through 10.
And after him, Ibzan of Bethlehem judged Israel. And he had 30 sons and 30 daughters, whom he sent abroad, and took in 30 daughters from abroad for his sons. And he judged Israel 7 years. Then died Ibzan and was buried at Bethlehem. And
all right, stop right there. So Ibzan is the next judge, 7 years. Excuse me. Now, a lot of these judges, you can find zero information about them except these 2 or 3 verses that you read. They happen to be one of the judges of Israel. They were used by God. They were imperfect men. They were just connecting the dots to keep Israel going, sort of a maintenance worker or third shift worker. Sometimes you don't know what the third shift did except keep the lights on, that kind of thing. And I'm talking metaphorically. So Ibzan, one thing I found out interesting about him, there's a Jewish historian, most of you probably have heard of Josephus. Josephus wrote about Ibzan. And at that time, they believed that Ibzan was the same person as Boaz, Ruth's husband.
Really?
Now, I don't believe that, and I think most Christians today...
Because it says he had 30 sons and daughters.
Okay, that's a good point. So we know the Bible is truth. And it's possible that Ibzan was Boaz because they were lived in the same time period. Now, see, in my mind, Ruth is, hey, that's not the same time period. You have to flip over.
I didn't realize that Ruth was in this time period.
Yes.
Wow.
So, chronologically, the story of Ruth fits in here right in this time period with the judges of Israel. Well, think about it. Is not Ruth's descendant David?
Yeah.
And he was the second king of Israel?
Yes.
So that means that wasn't Boaz like his great grandfather?
Mm-hmm.
So that puts Ruth in the time of the judges because there were no kings yet.
Of course, yes.
Right? So the last judge happened before Saul. Right?
So at this time period, just before him with Jephthah and all of that, Ruth would have been married, and you said she was a Moabitess, so she would have been Moab, which is just south of where all of this was. Interesting.
So, and I don't believe that she was, or he was, but he could have been, but like you said, 30 sons and 30 daughters. So Boaz in the book of Ruth, we'll study Ruth pretty soon, but Boaz has only had one heir listed, and that was Obed, I think.
Yeah, that was Jesse's
daddy. And so that the people, the rabbis actually teach that he is Boaz, but because of the Talmud, it says that he's Boaz in there.
I don't get that though. How did he get 30 sons and daughters? He would have had to have concubines.
It said they would have had to have all died out before he died out. And in the Talmud, Boaz consummated his marriage with Ruth and died the next day because he was a very old man. In the Talmud, it says that. That's not biblical, folks. That's just what if you go out and do some research, there are some people that believe that. Wow. I don't personally believe that he is Boaz. You would have to have 60 children, 60 sons and 60 daughters that would have to die off before you. Right. And you would have to have been an old man, basically. And
we're having a grits discussion. Hang on. Courtney likes hers with butter. Cece said grits with butter, eggs, and grape jelly is the best on a hot biscuit. Oh, girl. You done flung a craving on me. Kathy said fancy grits are called polenta, a.k.a. charge a fortune in a fancy Italian restaurant. Isn't that interesting? Polenta is fancy grits.
Didn't know that. I'm making a note right now.
Polenta. So next time I make you grits, I'm going to say, do you want some polenta? I'll try to find an Italian
I wonder if we can
accent.
go to the Olive Garden and get polenta.
Polenta. Yeah, I love Ruth's story too. Her story is probably my favorite. Fancy grits. Yep. Okay. We
So
digress.
I think it's if we get nothing else out of what I just said, chronologically, Ruth fits in
I
this
do
story.
think that's interesting.
That she's in here, and we know there was a famine in the land, and we know that she fits in here chronologically.
Gotcha.
And I never even really thought about it, about that she would have been during the time of the judges, but it makes sense because their great grandson was David.
Well, there was a lot of judges.
Yeah.
Over a long period of time, so somewhere in there she'd have had to have lived.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, we don't realize the books of the Bible are not chronological. When you get to Malachi at the end, that's 400 years from there to Jesus' birth, but it's not all. Probably could find a chart.
Well, there is a chronological Bible you can buy, and it has everything written chronologically.
Okay.
I had one years ago.
Okay. Well, I think it's relevant to the study,
Yeah.
and I want us to.
I'm glad
remember.
you said that. That was interesting.
So Ibzan judged Israel 7 years, and in 11 and 12.
And after him, Elon, a Zebulunite, judged Israel, and he judged Israel 10 years. And Elon, the Zebulunite, died and was buried in Ajalon in the country of Zebulun.
This is not the same as Elon Musk. This is Elon, and he's from the tribe of Zebulun.
Which is probably where he got his name. His mama probably got his name from him.
That's true. His biblical name. And I looked at Ibzan, and we don't know what tribe he is, but I would say Ephraim because he's from. It
says he was buried in Bethlehem.
Yes, and that's another reason that Josephus believed that he was Boaz, was he was from Bethlehem. But if there's another Bethlehem. No. Have you ever noticed sometimes it's written Bethlehem, Judah?
Yes.
Okay, so there's two places that are called Bethlehem.
Interesting. I appreciate the map. I wish I had a book that had transparent flip overs for time periods, names, tribes, Jesus, time through now. We have one, and I will, after Bible study, I will see if I can get it out and post the information for you, Kathy.
I forgot all about it. That would have been good to have tonight.
You want me to go get it?
No. All right, so that's Elon, 10 years, and from the tribe of Zebulun, and then 13 through 15.
And after him, Abdon, the son of Hillel, a Parathonite, judged Israel. And he had 40 sons and 30 nephews that rode on 70 ass camels. He judged Israel 8 years. I'm amazed at the things that they find so important.
Go ahead and finish
Okay, I'm sorry. And Abdon, the son of Hillel, the Parathonite, died and was buried in Pirathon in the land of Ephraim in the mount of the Amalekites.
Okay, so let me. I'm glad you said that. I'm glad you found that humorous because I wanted to. That's something I forgot to talk about.
Abdon.
When they talk about they had 30, like go back to Ibzan, and he had 30 daughters and 30 sons, and he took from abroad for his sons. What that means is he was a good patriarch for his family in making alliances with the other groups. That shows the greatness of his character just because you can father a bunch of children does not make you a great man. But being able to take 30 sons, 40 sons, and 30 nephews that rode on 60, 70 donkeys in That's 70. That's 40 sons and 30. That's 70 people. And they all rode
Each one
donkeys.
of them had their own donkey.
That's right. It's like everybody having their own car. You know, that's what that's what this is telling us, is they were prosperous.
Yeah.
And it shows his character, that probably in a time when people were in poverty during these kind of droughts and famines and stuff, this family did okay. And so
We're behind because we don't have one donkey.
no,
We need a donkey.
we could trade some of those non-running vehicles out there for.
Oh, y'all, some of the grandsons wanted to get some things to work on, small engine repair. We were overly blessed because they brought them all here so Papa could help them fix them. Now we've got a junkyard out there, no joke.
Have you ever seen Sanford and Son?
I told him, I said,
that's what our yard looks like.
No. This is going to have to change because I work really hard to make our yard beautiful, and come around the corner and boom, Sanford and Son out there.
So,
we've
no
got
donkeys for us though.
We've got some go-karts and lawnmowers and riding lawnmowers, and we digress. I didn't know they were different.
Who are you talking about when you say you didn't know they were different? That might have been a comment that was a minute or two back. So who was you talking about that you didn't know they were different?
When I saw the word Pirathonite, I kept thinking piranha.
Oh.
And I kept trying to get that out of my head to not say piranha, but it was so close.
Yeah,
see, I don't remember Abdon or Elon or Ibzan.
Yeah, and that's the point, is there are judges in here, except historically they judged for Wanda says her footnote says the nephews could also be grandsons, and something I looked at online said the same thing, that it could be grandsons.
Interesting.
So I'm not sure why it got translated nephews, but that would kind of make sense too, that he had 40 sons and 30 grandsons. But either way, he had a large family, and they were all prosperous enough to each have their own animal. And in 8 years, and that doesn't sound like a long time when you consider some of these judges judged Israel for 40 years, but it's not the length of time that we should look at. I think we're going to see Samson judged Israel a long time, which is weird because we only remember the little Hollywood version of Samson.
Right, just a little
just the bad things that he did, or the dumb things that he did.
Yeah, that's interesting.
So, from this chapter, let's learn that the divisions are not of God, and we need to make sure we keep peace among families, among churches.
Well, I got several things out of this. That it was the time of Ruth, this one guy. I think that is extremely interesting. Of course, one of these had to be the time of Ruth, so now I know which one. I think it's very interesting about the pronunciation revealing who was who. Never thought about that before. I've read this Bible I don't know how many times, and somehow that verse never stuck out in my head. And what was the other thing? There was one more thing.
Grits was good.
The grits were good.
I might have to have a bowl of grits.
We're going to have to have a bowl of grits here in a minute. Grits makes a good midnight snack.
Yeah, with a little toast. Grits and toast and butter on the, not on the toast. I don't butter my toast.
And grape jellies. It does sound good.
Yeah. Okay. I hope that it's been an interesting study.
It has. I've enjoyed it.
It's a shorter chapter, but next week we're going to jump in with both feet And we're going to talk about Samson, who was one of the few people in the Bible whose birth was foretold by an angel. And that still blows me away. Why was he so important that an angel needed to come in and to tell his parents this?
Well, maybe because he just really was not a good guy there for a while.
Yeah.
And it needed to be marked in their brain that God did bring this child into being,
But
you know?
there is 4 or 5 chapters about Samson.
He was a mighty man of God. A mighty man of God.
Okay. Interesting stuff. God bless you all. Thank you for joining us again, and let me know how this works out for Tuesday night for you. I think it'll work for our family better if we can do this like this, because Thursday is always just really a busy time for us.
It
You're
didn't
welcome,
used to
Susan.
be. It's just morphed into that.
Yeah. Well, we usually have about 3 things going on besides what I was doing in Bible study, so this works good.
Yes. We love you guys. Y'all take care of you and be blessed.
Yeah. See you all Sunday for the
Sunday.
message.
Woohoo!
Good night.